Hello, thank you everyone for joining us today for EarthEcho's STEMExplore virtual field trip, Swinging by Ropes, Managing Water in the West, featuring Carlene Polk from the Bureau of Reclamation in Sacramento, California. My name is Casey Gaylord Opaleski, and I'm the STEMExplore coordinator at EarthEcho International. We are so excited to have students from all over the globe joining us as we learn about STEM careers. This live event is part of STEMExplore, EarthEcho's newest program that is taking inspiration to access by telling the stories of dynamic women in STEM careers during live virtual field trip events such as this one. We're excited to bring STEMExplore to life thanks to the generous support from our presenting sponsor, United Technologies. You can explore a number of STEM careers, as well as tune in for upcoming live events just like this one at EarthEcho's STEMExplore website, STEMexplore.org. I'd like to start off by recognizing and thanking STEMExplore's 5 partner sites around the country and want to recognize those that are joining us today. So starting on the West Coast, we have Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clarita Valley in California. We also have Youth Power 365 in Vail, Colorado. Mech Ed in Charlotte, North Carolina. Love a Sea Turtle in Greenville, North Carolina. And the YWCA of the Hartford region in Hartford, Connecticut. We're very proud to have these partner sites join STEMExplore this year. So first, let's get a hello from our Mech Ed site in Charlotte, North Carolina. So Mech Ed, why don't you go ahead and unmute your microphone and say hello to everyone.
Hi, we're excited to be here today for the very first virtual field trip, and we have our students behind us.
Excellent. Wonderful to see everyone. Happy that you could make it with us this afternoon. We're super excited to have you. And go ahead and mute that microphone, and we will call on you in just a few moments. So think about some questions that you might want to ask our guest speaker and our geologist this afternoon. So we also love participation from all of you watching out there. So you can participate too and ask us questions. So the viewing sites, if you are viewing on our YouTube channel, go ahead and use the chat space. You can find that either to the right of your YouTube feed or just directly below. If you are viewing this on the STEMexplore.org website, you can click on the submit questions that you see at the top. Now, I do want to apologize. We're suffering a little glitch on our website. And so I do want to say that we do have the incorrect STEM mentor's name up there, but don't worry about it. We can still get those questions. If you click on that submit questions, you can then fill out a Google form that we will then receive. So go ahead and submit your questions there. And you can submit your questions now or at any time during this live virtual field trip, as we will be stopping for Q&A throughout the entire program. All right, everyone. So we want to get started, and I would love to welcome our STEMexplore mentor for today's virtual field trip, Carlene Polk. So Carlene, hello, how are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm good. I'm doing really good. Yeah, I'm Carlene Polk, and I am a geologist with the Bureau of Reclamation.
All right, we're so excited to have Carlene join us. And why don't you start by telling us a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll get to talking about your career and what it is that you do, because you've got some exciting stuff to share.
Perfect. Yeah. So I grew up in Wisconsin, where I attended both my undergrad and my grad school. I originally went to college to become a veterinarian, but quickly discovered it wasn't for me. So I was fortunate enough to have a geology professor approach me about sitting in on one of his classes. And so I did. I was like, right on, let's do this. So he was teaching a class on plate tectonics, and I was hooked from then out. I was like, okay, this is for me. So thanks to Professor Rex Hanger, who inspired me to become a geologist. And I also just need to thank my family, my parents, because they have been behind me the whole step of the way and just let me fly, which literally I have flown across the world to many beautiful places because of school and my career.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Carly. I think it's really important that you already mentioned that you thought that you were on one path and you completely took another because you took a chance by listening to your professor who invited you into a class. So I think that is pretty cool that you took a chance on that and it was the perfect fit for you. So I think that's a pretty good message to everybody tuning in and out there. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do currently at the Bureau of Reclamation and kind of about the path of your career? Because I know you get roped in, pun intended, into a lot of projects.
Absolutely. So working for the Bureau of Reclamation, we work on providing water to the West. So we're split up into 5 regions that is west of the Mississippi. So I work on various projects that we receive as a field exploration request that we call a FER. Within the FER or FER, we are given multiple tasks which allows us to conduct geologic investigations in order to provide the results needed to our headquarters in Denver, Colorado. So these investigations include drilling into the earth or within our structures. And the current project I am working on that you guys see on the slide is Shasta Dam. So that's located in Santa Ana, California. And within this project, we are collecting soil samples within the dam and below the dam into the original earth in order to see how these soils react during an earthquake. So the results will help us understand how we need to modify the dam. And so how do we do this? Well, a drill rig is used to collect soil or rock samples to depth into the ground. So the rig will advance into the surface of the ground and it'll retrieve samples of each of the soil units or layers. So the rig will keep drilling deeper and deeper and deeper into the ground and collecting samples as it is advancing and until it reaches bedrock, and we'll grab a sample of that as well. So the next slide, this is just a section of my project with some of the drill hole locations of where this drill rig will be setting up and collecting the samples we need to investigate. So the white rectangles in the center there are where we are currently drilling. I'll go down. Okay, and then the next slide, yes, this is a cross section. So once we know our task and what we need to do, we need to know where we're drilling. So we need to know what materials we are drilling into. So before heading out into the field, we spend months, it depends on the time, how big the project is, looking at the history of our dams or whatever structure we're working on and making cross sections based on historic drilling holes within that area. And then this gives us an outline on how thick each soil layer will be and that we can provide the appropriate testing within each of those layers. So this next slide, in this particular hole, the orange blocks on the top, that's the embankment. So it's split into 3 zones. And each of those have their own characteristics, which I won't get into because I got a lot of exciting stuff to present. The green blocks are the clay layers that are under the dam. They're holding the dam up. And in between those and the yellow blocks are the gravel layers. So each of these layers will be sampled using various sample techniques that we'll send to our lab, and they'll test it for what is needed. Oh yeah, next slide, good job. If I can go down, okay. So here's one of the samples I retrieved. We always take a picture with like a whiteboard and measuring tape. And this is what we call an intact sample. So it's collected in a Lexan tube. So this is then, after I take pictures, prepare the sample, this sample is again sent to Denver where they will cut it open and test it and see how strong the material is and how it will react during an earthquake. So the whole point of this is basically what can we do in order to modify our dams in any given situation. And then the next slide. So our project lasts a couple of months to a year. It's just dependent on how large the project is. My current project, BFSISC, has been going on for 7 months, which is a pretty good time. And our shifts are 10 days long. So you're in the office for a day, gone in the field for about 8 days, and then come back to the office. So we can potentially be gone 20 days out of the month, but we try, just so that we have a family life and, keep everything balanced. We try to just make it 10 days out of that month. But we're rewarded with these beautiful sunsets and awesome places to travel to. So it's quite spectacular. And I mean, you can't beat that sunrise.
That is a gorgeous sunrise. All right, so I know that you're going to dive into another project that you're working on, and there's some really exciting stuff coming up. But we want to pause right here because, Carly, you've given us the basics of geology and what it is that you do for your job currently. So I want to go to our site at MECED in Charlotte, North Carolina, to see if you have any questions at this point for Carly, our geologist. So, MECED, do we have any questions out there? And also, just to remind the viewing audience, you can also submit your questions if you're watching on YouTube. Use that chat feature. And in fact, if you are watching on STEMExplore, you might want to pop out and go to that live stream on YouTube to use that chat feature, because I think we are having some difficulty on our website. Okay, so we've got a question coming in from YouTube. Carly, how long have you been a geologist?
I've been a geologist for 6 years. So I spent my first 2 years in a consulting firm back in Wisconsin. And then I moved out to California to work for the Bureau of Reclamation. So our regional office is MP, Mid-Pacific region.
Awesome. Thank you. And that was a great question coming from our friends in Oceanside, California. So MECED in Charlotte, would you like to unmute? Do you have a question for Carlene?
But we're not able to see the slides. So I'm not sure if we missed like part of the slides a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if it's on our end, but we weren't able to see any of like the pictures or diagrams.
Okay, I will troubleshoot that on the side and chat you that. Okay. But do you have any questions so far?
No, not so far.
Okay, sounds good. We do have another one, Carly, that came in on our Google form. So let me just pull that up because this is a really good thing. What are the top 3 things you would recommend to somebody who is interested in a future in geology?
What I would recommend, I think I really personally love that you get to be outside. So if you love working outside, you love to travel, those 2 things I think you definitely need to be passionate about, because if you don't want to get down and dirty, probably more of an office job or something like that would be good for you. But if you like the investigations of and the science behind something, definitely all of those are something I really recommend.
Excellent. Awesome. So before we move on to talk a little bit about your work at Shasta Dam, we do have another question coming in from Mr. Thomas's class, and they want to know if you've ever dug up anything unexpected.
That is a great question. So I have not dug up anything personally or what's happened on my site, but I've heard a few stories that yes, there's been some bones dug up on some sites, and it was more of like a historic Native American site. So then when they dug deeper, they saw more of their pots and everything they use to make food. But when you dig and you see something like that, we have to stop. We call the cultural list. They come in and everything is at a halt because that is something very historic, and we want to make sure everything is done properly. So that's probably the most interesting thing that has been dug up in our region.
Great job. Thanks. Those are great questions coming in. We've got a lot of people watching on our YouTube stream right now, so that's really great. And I do just want to say to our site at MECED, if you feel that you cannot see those slides, go ahead, and if you wanted to access the live feed on the YouTube channel, you can try and do that as well. Go to youtube.com/EarthEcho, and you will see everything that everybody out there tuning in is seeing. So Carly, why don't you go ahead, and why don't we talk a little bit more about what you just literally got back from yesterday?
Yeah, so the last 10 days I have been up at Shasta Dam, and my really good friend and coworker, Lisa Zafran, is spearheading this project, and with the help of some of our coworkers. So I'm fortunate enough to be a part of that, and I am on the rope access team. So if you hear me say RAP member, that's what that stands for, rope access team. So I am helping, or I helped her with the drilling portion that involves drilling into the dam while hanging from ropes. Since we have the certifications, got all our rope works, everything we need. So the symbols that you see, which is probably hard to see, but there's like these little black symbols, those are rats. So it's just something fun to play with. So those are all the holes we had to drill on the upstream face, which is the big lake you see, and then the downstream face, which is the spillway and the dam. The spillway is that darker part in the middle. So if you go to the next slide, so this is on the spillway of Shasta Dam. And just to give you guys a scale, there's a large boat in the river on the bottom. So this dam is a little trippy because it doesn't seem that tall, but you're 602 feet above the ground when you're on the crest of the dam. So I just thought this was a neat picture just to show you guys. So my friend Johnny is on the catwalk, and I'm coming down above him, which is on the topmost, the crest of the dam. So yeah, pretty cool. So just keep that in mind. It might look a little different because the boat's not there anymore. Okay, so this is a setup of how we set up our rigging. So a lot of our anchors are actually on our trucks, and then the ropes are going over the railing, and we put ourselves over the railing after we're hooked up in the ropes and then start descending. The reason we hook up to the trucks is because they're stronger than what the railing is. So just to be safe, we follow all precautions, and then we go for our ride down the edge. So here's on the upstream view where we're seeing Shasta Reservoir, and you can see Mount Shasta a little bit in the back there. So Mount Shasta is about 14,000 feet high, a little higher than that. So it's the 5th highest peak in California. So just a little sidetrack fact there. So this is on the downstream side, and this is me. I just hopped over the edge. I'm all hooked up. I'm putting on rope protection because there's some abrasive edges. So we want to make sure nothing is cutting the ropes and that everyone is safe. So protecting the rope, and I'm heading down to our next drill site. So here, starting to descend, I think I have a pair of gloves in my mouth. I probably should have put that on a carabiner, but you know, sometimes you forget stuff when you're heading over. So here's the next slide. I'm heading down, and this is kind of a cool perspective because on the left, you see the water of Shasta Reservoir, and to the right, going down slope, you're seeing the spillway. So that white structure in the middle is part of the gates that will lift up and down in order to release water. So pretty cool. And then the next slide, I'm looking upstream as I'm heading down to my drill site point. So it's just giving you a little perspective of what it looks like in that view. And then the next slide, we're looking at a downstream view in the position that I will be sitting in to start drilling. So then here, my friend Henry is on the catwalk, and he was taking a picture of what it looks like from where we're working. So you saw our perspective, and it's a little different than what he's seen. So again, that dam doesn't look, or I'm sorry, the spillway doesn't look that large because we don't have that boat, but we're still probably about 400 feet above that water. And then here's us, we're climbing back up. So we have a rig kind of sitting behind Johnny, who's behind me a little more downstream. And we're heading up to start preparing the next site in order to move the rig to that portion and set up for another core. And I'm going to get more into specifics to show you the close-ups. It's just kind of a little overview. And yeah, here, this is actually after we were done drilling that lower hole. So that red rig is what is brought down to us on ropes after we're in position, drill, and then we mark it with a big triangle. So surveyors will be able to pinpoint that from far away. They can be on a boat downstream or across on one of the abutments, and they'll be able to shoot and get a GPS coordinate, which is pretty cool. So we have the drill holes labeled, and the middle number is always the year of when we did that investigation. So here is a video, and this, so we're coming down on the wall of the downstream face. Sorry, it's a little shaky. It was a little windy. But that's my friend Craig. He's drilling into the dam in order to set an anchor. He has my ropes in his harness, and he is going to put my ropes. Oh, that's looking downstream, just so you guys get a view. And then he will put my ropes into that anchor, and then I'll finally descend to him. And then we'll both be working side to side and then ask for the equipment and everything to be brought down to us. So here's just the picture of like, okay, we were down, we set our anchors. We set another anchor just for this drill rig. So it's hanging on the side of the wall. It's secured to the side of the wall. And we're gonna start drilling here soon. As you can see, there's a lot of different ropes and everything going on. So we always want to make sure we're keeping stuff as organized as possible, even though we're in this like small working area. So just another little look. And then I think there's another video kind of showing just what it kind of looks like from our view. A lot of tool bags are sent down. Those are the anchors that my ropes are through. The rig is sitting all nice and tight to the wall. It's pinpointed on that orange spot, which we know we need to drill through. And, you know, we like to have fun and stay happy while hanging on ropes. So we have a good time, joke around. There's a little bit of waiting in between periods when we have equipment being sent to us, and also it's done safely. So I mean, it's a couple 100-pound rig that they need to get over the edge and send it to us. So this next video is I'm actually pulling the trigger to start drilling into the dam. Just a reminder, we are still on ropes. So that vacuum, that red circular thing that you see around the core, it's sucking up any water that is coming out. And the water is us introducing water while drilling, because we need to keep the bit and the core barrel cool. So when that water comes back out, we need to catch it, because environmentally we need to keep everything safe and not falling into the water below us. So all that hard work of setting up, going up and down, I think we did like 19 holes, something like that. I can't remember. This is the end product. So we get this core. This is a concrete core. It's just under 2 feet long. It's in one piece. So I go up and I geologize it, or if I had some of my coworkers on site, they were, I was very appreciative that they helped out if we had to run on ropes real quick. So we log it, we prepare it, and then it gets sent off to our headquarters to be tested for what they would like to do with the dam. So I think this next one, so this is just a picture on top of the core. So nailed it pretty good. We got right on that orange marker where we were supposed to drill. So yeah, this whole process is really exciting. I mean, I never thought I'd be on ropes and drilling, and just geology has so many cool aspects, and it's just like a really crazy, fun subject to be into.
That is awesome, Carly. These pictures are so phenomenal that you've shared with. And I can't imagine being on those ropes the way that you guys are and trying to do a good job and geologize. I like that term. So we have a question that came in from YouTube. They are wondering how many people on the team are on the team drilling into the dam, and are they all geologists?
That's a great question. Okay, so Reclamation is split into 5 regions, and each region has their own ropes team. So I'm on the Mid-Pacific region. I think we have 9 team members. And on this particular project, we had between 4 or 5 on each day. So we'd have 2 or 3 people on top and 2 at the bottom. So we were just interchanging people the entire time because it was a long process. I think it was like 20 days of drilling. So we just wanted to make sure everyone was physically ready and could change out whenever they could.
All right. Very cool. So just to remind everybody viewing out there, because we do have quite a viewership watching on YouTube and on STEMExplore.org. If you're watching on YouTube, just simply chat us some questions and we can feed those to Miss Carlene. We're going to head back over to our friends at MECED to see if you have any questions there in Charlotte, North Carolina. So let's check in with our partner site at MECED, and then I've got quite a few questions coming in as well.
Perfect.
Have you traveled to any places? Was that your question? Yes. Excellent question. Go ahead, Carlene.
Is it more for work or personal or both? Work. What was that?
For work.
For work. Okay. For work, I have traveled along most of the United States. So California is pretty big, and that's what our region usually covers. And then I've been to Oregon, climbed on Hoover Dam. So I've been in Utah, Arizona. So yeah, a lot of the states west of the Mississippi I have been to. So yeah, traveled to some really cool places.
And Carly, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you also travel internationally for schooling or for your degree?
I did. So I was fortunate enough. I've been almost to every continent, been to a lot of countries. So yeah, when I was in grad school, I traveled to Iceland for a class and then stayed there personally because I had a friend that lived there. So then we traveled to Greenland to see more of the geology. And I've been to Africa. That's actually where I did my field camp in Nairobi, Kenya. And so I went to field camp there. The professor was awesome. And he's like, you did such a great job. Do you want to come next year and teach it? And I was like, yeah, another trip to Africa. Let's do this. So went there. I've been to Australia and New Zealand. I'm for schooling and my master's. So yeah, it's been quite a ride.
Awesome. All right, MECED, do you have another question for Carlene?
Not at the moment.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I have a question for you, Carly. How do you geologize?
How do I geologize?
Yes, what does that mean?
Geologize, I know that's like a term we love to use because it's just fun, right? So usually when you get a core, we have these characteristics that we just go in line, and so you measure how long the core was. So that is what we call a recovery. And then we also have the depth of which we drilled that sample. So if we drilled from 0 to 5 feet and we got a recovery from 0 to 4 feet, some of that material might have fell in the hole or something like that. And then once we get that core and are analyzing it, like for soil, we go through the characteristics, like we roll it for plasticity, hardness, we're like roll it in little balls and pinch it, and use HCl to see if there's like any calcite or any other minerals that can type out. So like when we do all these tests, it'll basically narrow down the characteristics of if it's a clay, a gravel, or any of those in-betweenies, like a gravel clay. And then we do the same process with rock, and they have a whole different characteristic. Like if you bang on the core and it has kind of this high tinging sound, it's fresh. And if it's a little dull, it's more weathered. So it's probably more exposed on the surface or more water was running through it. So yeah, I could go for, if you want me to go for a longer list, but yeah, we just have this list that we go through and do the check marks, and then yeah, take the characteristics of color, if it came out wet, dry, all that.
That is awesome. So we have this question coming in from quite a few different people, and I know you kind of answered this. Somebody asked if you ever found anything interesting when you're doing your sampling, but specifically, we have several people who are asking, have you ever found any fossils?
Yes, lots of fossils actually. So I'm more not like a paleontologist or anything like that. So that's kind of a little more out of my field, but found some really, really cool like shells, arthropods, like I don't know, Casey, maybe you can help me out with that, but like the bivalves, like just really cool looking fossils. So I wish I knew exactly what they were, but we sent that to the paleontologist, like, can you help us out there? So we all work as a big group, which is great. But yeah, a lot of fossils.
That's awesome. Okay, so Carly, why don't you've told us a lot about what you do, how you geologize, and how you do your job. You've told us very specific things about 2 projects that you've been working on recently. So can you tell us just a little bit of a bigger picture? How does this work contribute to, say, a sustainable future?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically working and providing water to the West. My work helps provide that water by building dams, levees, canals, plenty more structures, which leads to a sustainable life. So without these structures, humans would have a hard time surviving in the West, with it being such a dry climate, mostly desert. So we try to keep the reservoirs at a high capacity and releasing flows when it's needed for agricultures or cities. And my other slide won't come up. There we go. So, and although some of like the seasons provide more water than others, leaving our reservoirs to be filled when it's a large wet season. And what that means out here is how much snow do we get in the mountains? And then when that snow melts, that amount of snow fills up our reservoirs to a certain extent. And then our rainfall. So like Sacramento, where I live, does not have any snow that really lands here. It's all up in the mountains. So we like a lot of rain, which doesn't happen all the time. So the Bureau of Reclamation is constantly spearheading new ways to build, modify dams, levees, or other structures in order to provide a larger reservoir capacity in order to store water that we don't want to release all the time. So, and with our population growth, our goal is to provide water to the West and provide sustainability.
Excellent. All right, let's head back over to our friends at MECED in Charlotte, North Carolina. Do you have any other questions for Carlene? Was your question, how long did you go to school for geology? That is an excellent question.
That is a very good question. So I did 4.5 years in my undergrad because I started off as a biology major and then I switched it. So it took me just a little bit longer. And grad school took me 2.5 years. So you have a thesis and then you have to defend your thesis, publish it. So what does that round up to? 4.5? No, 6.5. Sorry, something like that. So a good amount of time.
All right, MECED, do we have another question from you?
How many hours do you work a day?
Oh, can you say that again real nice and loud?
How many hours do you work a day?
How many hours do you work a day? Good question.
That's a good one. So Just on this rope project that you just saw, we were working about 14-hour days and did 9 days straight. So we worked through weekends some of the times. And then on my other project, we always work 10-day shifts. So for example, a Monday we'll work 8 hours, and then Tuesday we travel to the site after working in the office. And then we spend 8 days in the field at 10-hour days. And then we travel back and then into the office, and then we finally get our weekend off, but it's well worth it.
What do you think, ladies? Do you think you could work 10-hour days, go to school for 10 hours, or even you said 14?
Yeah.
On the ropes?
Yeah, we had a time limit to get that down. We had a couple different companies within that project helping out. So we're just trying to get less people on there so we can keep things moving.
So what do you think, Mecca? Do you think you'd want to go to school for 14 hours straight and be there for 10 days straight and then get a little bit of a weekend? No. But if you were doing something as cool as what Carlene is doing with the ropes and the drilling, would that answer change a little bit? Yes. Yeah, good. All right. Do you have any other questions for Carlene? All right. Well, those were awesome questions. So, Carly, I do have a question to kind of close things out. Well, actually, we've got a couple more coming in right now. So, what advice would you give to anyone who might not know the direction they're going into, or even if they think they want to go into geology? What sort of advice would you give to anyone out there?
My biggest motto is always try something, and whether it scares you or not. And I've always taken opportunities that were kind of presented in front of me. And if I never did that, I don't think I would have been where I'm at now. So, you know, taking a chance of going into the professor's geology class and then realizing, whoa, this is for me. That's pretty cool. And then taking a chance of moving out west without knowing anyone, traveling from Wisconsin to California. And then, and actually when I interviewed for the Bureau of Reclamation, I never met my boss, coworkers, the buildings. I had no idea. I was like, I'm going to roll the dice and let's do this. And it was the best decision ever. And then lastly, the ropes team. Like, this is kind of crazy. I've always been afraid of heights. So I never thought I'd be able to do it, but I was like, I'll never know unless I try. So I got on it and I trusted my equipment, and I couldn't believe how easy I could just throw myself over a 600-foot dam. Or I climbed my second climb ever was Hoover Dam. And if you've ever been there, I think everyone understands how tall that is. So that's my recommendation. Any opportunity you get, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? That you don't like it, and then you move on to another opportunity that could be presented.
That is excellent, excellent advice. So I do have another question for you. Do you have a lot of women colleagues in your job? And do you think there should be more?
That is an excellent question. In my classes and in my career, there were not a lot of women in it. My office, it was just me and another female, and then 7 males for a long time. And then we finally got another female. So out of 5 regions, right, you're thinking of all the states west of the Mississippi, I think I could count on 2 hands the amount of women in the geology program. So I really express women to get into it. Like everyone, it's just such an exciting career, and you do some cool stuff. So I'm just hoping more people get into it.
That is awesome. All right. Thank you so much. I do want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in today, and a big thank you to Ms. Carlene Polk for joining us today. You can check out more information and about the projects that Carlene is working on at the Bureau of Reclamation's website, as well as their Instagram, which we have listed here. Now, I also want to give a big thank you to the STEMExplore partner sites out there and the classrooms that have tuned in live for us today. So those of you at MECED in Charlotte, North Carolina, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. You had amazing questions, and we can't wait to see you again. So EarthEcho has some pretty exciting opportunities coming up. So first of all, I want to tell you about a mini grant that you could submit your ideas to. So Expedition Water by Design explores the issues of water scarcity and drought through free innovative resources. So you can enter to win a $500 mini grant by submitting your stories of students exploring engineering design around water resource management or developing their own water conservation and restoration projects. So for more information, you can visit our website at earthecho.org. You can see our deadline. You've got quite a bit of time. Our deadline is during World Water Day on March 22nd, and we will announce the winners on Earth Day, April 22nd. So I think this mini grant contest ties in really great with everything that Carlene talked about and how her career as a geologist contributes to a sustainable future, because we really need to talk about these issues with water scarcity and drought. So we hope that Carlene's talk has inspired you with some ideas, and you can plan to submit your design. Now, I want you to be sure to also tune in to upcoming virtual field trips. STEMExplore will continue to bring relatable voices in STEM careers on November 1st with 2 more events at 3 p.m. Eastern and 6:30 p.m. Eastern. On November 1st, we're excited to speak with May Doricott and Amanda Hodo. Both are marine biologists who have taken very different career paths, and I can speak from experience. These 2 ladies have wonderful stories, so we really hope you can tune in. So for more information and to register for these exciting virtual field trips, you can visit STEMExplore.org, click on the live events cabinet, or the virtual field trips tab on the left. All of these events will run through December 2008, so be sure to tune into our website to check out upcoming events. We also want to remind everybody out there that November 6th is Election Day, and we want to see you at the polls. If issues such as climate change and environmental sustainability are important to you, be sure that you're registered and exercise your power and your right to vote in November. We'll see you at the polls. Again, you can follow EarthEcho on all of our exciting programs on our social media channels as well as our websites. And thank you again so much to our wonderful sponsor, United Technologies. This couldn't happen without you. And of course, a huge thank you to our STEMExplore mentor, Carlene Polk, for joining us today. So on behalf of EarthEcho International, again, thank you everyone for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.